Hello everyone, this is Shamsi, and today we're kicking off our armament industry guides with the Railgun. Now the flowchart for this factory can be found in the description below, so let's get right into it. Now we start as always with our raw ore. The tier 1 and 2s both go into this container at the start, and the tier 3s into that medium container. And these all connect to refiners, so the tier 1s and 2s connect to 8 refiners that then output each of them into one individual medium container. Now this is an aesthetic choice by me. Practically, its use for my main factory, which is what I'll actually be using to feed this with. This is there for demonstration purposes only. The practical benefit is you can individually use transfer units. So transfer units can only move one thing from a container anyway. So you can double and triple and quadruple your output links as you want with transfer units as your need increases. But over here at least you could easily double some of these up to save on containers. If you're making railguns though, containers are very cheap. You can churn them out by the dozen at will. So the tier 1s and tier 2s each have their own container here, and the tier 3s feed into all of them into this joint container here, this large storage box. Now as for our tier 3s, we have lithium, which provides our lithium from petalite. We have acanthite making silver and sulfur. We only need a tiny little bit of sulfur, so this is more than enough. We don't need a specific sulfur refiner. And these two are both refining garnierite into nickel, and all of that feeds into the tier 3 ingot box here. So our first stage of refining towards the railguns is plastic, glass, and alloys. The connections on the flowchart got really hectic at this stage, at the container to the smelter and refiner stage. So I didn't put them in, but I put a note to say it's very simple. You go to each individual smelter here and connect it to exactly what it needs. So this one is making alpha. It needs a connection to the iron box and the aluminium box. So you would pick the iron and aluminium boxes and connect them here. And so this one here, for instance, is making our agly reinforced glass. It needs silver and lithium. That comes from the tier 3 ingot box. It also needs silicon, so it's got a connection to the silicon box where it also finds its oxygen. But in case the oxygen there runs low or out, I've also connected to the iron core, which has a lot of oxygen in it normally. So you have up to 7 links that you can connect coming into an industry unit, and up to 10 links coming out of each of these containers. So just go along and connect each industry item to exactly what it needs, and it's very simple. So if I get rid of that for a moment, we have polycarbonate and polycalcite plastic. Polycalcite needed carbon, aluminium, and calcium. And they both feed into, I believe, this box here, which is the plastics box. Then we have our glass production, making glass, advanced glass, and agly reinforced glass. And they all feed into this box here, which is the glass box. Now the glass box also needs to be connected to the intake of a transfer unit to take the catalyst 3 from the agly reinforced glass production and feed it back into itself to create a self-sustaining loop. Now eventually I'm going to be making catalyst 3 because of my efficiencies here. I use less and produce more, so I will run out of room in this box in several years perhaps, but in any event, the only thing here is catalyst 3, and the only thing needed is catalyst 3. So let's move on to our alloys. We have alpha going into its own separate output box. You're maintaining 2,500. By the way, the amount to maintain can all be found in the flowchart here. So you do need a small container for that, and the calcium reinforced copper, which is the tier 2 version of alpha, also has its own output box, but an extra small is enough because you're only maintaining 1,000 calcium reinforced copper. Then you have steel. Tier 1 steel lives in this box, which is where the steel and duralumin live. And tier 2 steel, which is stainless steel, remember connected to what it needs, chromium, iron, and carbon, chromium, iron, carbon as its input, and its output is stainless steel and duralumin. So you've got duralumin and stainless steel both going into this box. You have silicon and steel both going into this box. Now this box has exactly, I believe, 10 output links going out of it, so that's enough. But if you needed more links, for instance, if you want to scale up a bit, you could separate the silicon and the steel out into individual containers, because the places that take them have more than enough input links to take steel and silicon into themselves separately. So we have, at the last stage here, we have Inconel. We have 2 smelters making Inconel into this box here, which then is also connected to the transfer unit, pulling catalyst 3 out and feeding it into this relay for catalyst 3. The relay needs to be connected to the glass and these 3 smelters here, all of which have recipes that require catalyst 3. So remember, connect things to what they need. They have catalyst 3, aluminium, and lithium lives in tier 3 ingots. And those all output all of their alloys, tier 3 alloys. We have Al-Li alloy here, we have Inconel here, and they all go into this container. The output of this Ag-Li reinforced glass is a glass box that we saw at the start. So let's move on to the side production. This is very simple. We have 3D printers maintaining basic and uncommon fixations, and they go into, I believe, this box here, which is fixations. Yep. And then we have electronics industries, one of which is maintaining basic connectors, and 2 of which are maintaining uncommon connectors. So as you can see, the uncommon ones need calcium reinforced copper and alpha. These each have their own individual boxes. One's there, and calcium reinforced copper is there. And then the basic one maintaining basic connectors only needs a connection to alpha. Now they all output into this box here, which is connectors. And then the last side step, which kind of feeds in upon its own side area, is the optics. We are maintaining 500 advanced optics from 3 glass furnaces, all identical in terms of production and intake. So their intake is glass and fixations. Fixations lived here that are fed into from the 3D printers, and glass, I believe, lived here, or the right here, and that is fed by these 3 glass furnaces earlier on in the production. So you set those as their input and you set optics as their output, and I believe optics is right here, and that's the end of the line for that production. So this box feeds straight into our assemblers, because the large railguns require optics to make. And the medium railguns, we'll come back and talk about this, require the same advanced optics too, just fewer of them. So let's move on to the most heavy part of our production. We have 11 metal workers here. So let's start with the back line here. These are making magnets. So this is making basic magnets. It needs a connection to our connector box over there, and to our steel and silicon box, which is where the steel lives. This one also needs a connection to the tier 2 box, so the stainless steel and the duralumin for the stainless steel. And these 2 are making our advanced magnets, so they need a link to all 3 of our main output boxes. So here for the steel, here for the stainless steel, and here for the Inconel. So stainless steel, steel, and tier 3 alloys for the Inconel, and they also need a connection to the connectors for the basic and uncommon connectors. Now these all output into the magnet box, which is the one over here on the right, looking this way. The next stage of production is pipes. So we have this one connected to the steel and silicon box for its silicon to make basic pipes. We have this one to the silicon and duralumin to make uncommon pipes. And we have this one again to all 3 for the advanced pipes. It needs Al-Li alloy from the tier 3 alloy box to make advanced pipes. The other 2 metal works in this row are exactly the same as this one, exactly the same inputs and exactly the same outputs, making advanced pipes. Now these all feed into the pipe box, which I believe is here. Yeah, pipes. Now the pipes and the magnets both feed into this metalwork here, which is able to every 7 hours produce an advanced magnetic rail large. So you just set that to maintain 2 of those because we want to make 2 of those in a day. We then connect it to the pipes box, to the magnets box, and to the tier 3 alloy box for its in-canal needs. And that outputs here into the rails and frames box, frames and rails. And the frames part comes from here, which is the last metal worker in the production chain. And that is every 5 hours able to produce an advanced reinforced frame large from tier 3 alloys for its in-canal and steel and silicon for its steel needs. And again, set it to maintain 2 and output it into this frames and rails box. Now, for the actual railguns. So, we have a connection to the optics box, which was over there on the right, fed by these 3 glass furnaces. We have a connection to the frames and rails box, producing advanced magnetic rail large and advanced reinforced frame large right there. And finally, we have connectors, uncommon connectors. So we need quite a few uncommon connectors. That's why we have 2 things making them. And I believe this was their box here. Yep. So we need this box connected to the assemblers too. Now, suppose you don't want to make larges, you want to make mediums. Those are the only 2 sizes in the meta that are usable right now. So let's have a look at Railgun Medium and see that it uses pretty much exactly the same production, just the rails and the frames are smaller sizes. It needs advanced optics, same as before. It needs uncommon connector, same as before. And if we have a look at its production here, its processing time is 5 hours. So, with 3 of these, you can really crank these out if you need to. So it has optics, frames and rails and connectors, same as the large assemblers. But what you would do to make mediums instead of larges is change this from making advanced reinforced frame L to making advanced reinforced frame M, which, as you can see, is the exact same resources, just in fewer quantities, and then same with magnetic rails. Advanced magnetic rail M uses exactly the same components as an advanced magnetic rail L, only fewer of them. So all you would do is keep exactly the same setup before. You now have a lot of excess production, but that's fine. You could even ramp up if all you're making is mediums. But you would set this to maintain an advanced magnetic rail medium rather than large, and this to maintain frame medium rather than large. And then all of these are connected anyway, and so you would just start these making Railgun M's, or just keep them running at all times anyway. And then all you would have to do is change those 2 productions, and when they get the resources they need in here, they'll automatically start crafting and outputting your completed railguns into this box here. So let's just talk very quickly about ammunition. Future Shamsi here. I've taken control of the video. I was hit with pangs of regret for not quickly putting it down to show what it would look like and demonstrate how one would automate ammunition production as well. So I'll take over from here. For antimatter ammunition, we need frames, uncommon reinforced frame S. That's also the same for the medium and for the antimatter variant as well. So the only frame requirement we have is met here. Every 8 minutes a frame is put out, so we set that to maintain 3. And then we have 2 antimatter capsules advanced being made by these 2 glass furnaces here. Now the thing that takes the most time to be made is agly reinforced glass. Over here we have 24 agly reinforced glass being consumed every hour. So 1 optics takes 16 minutes to make. That uses 2 agly reinforced glass. So every hour, 4 of them are made, consuming 8, and there's 3 of them, so 24 an hour. And for our production of agly reinforced glass, we, even at base without any talents, are making 75 liters an hour. So that's more than enough to be able to also sustain these extra. So again, it's the same 8 and then 16 glass being consumed every hour. So we are overproducing agly reinforced glass still with that one unit. And then the connectors, we don't need to worry about that. We have 2 units making these, and then these are also very happily being produced over here in sufficient quantities, 13 being made every 2 minutes. And then the quickest consumption of them here is every 3 minutes we are consuming 12 for a basic magnet. Every 4 minutes we are consuming 4 for the uncommon magnets, and then every 16 minutes we are consuming 4 again across these 2 for the advanced magnets. So again, our basic connectors and our uncommon connectors should have more than enough capacity to be able to support the excess production of the ammunition. So you have the frames here, you have the antimatter capsule here, and so we have these 2 assemblers making the railguns, and this one here making the ammunition. So it's making 40 an hour. In a 24-hour period, you're going to get close to 1,000. You are, one assembler might not be enough for personal use, but I would say it more or less is. So I'll ask a few friends of mine for their opinions. But the limiting factor for your operational capacity out in space is ammunition. So if you're just making enough for you yourself to use, 1 assembler should be enough. Plus the ammunition for them is not all that expensive. So if I were to look at consumables, ammunition, railgun ammo, large railgun, let's go antimatter, heavy antimatter, large. It's 1,900 a unit. So, if you go to buy 120 of them, it's not going to cost you that much. But, if you are producing, so 40 an hour, you're producing quite a lot of quanta to save yourself from buying ammunition. The other consideration for that is if you want to scratch all of this and just make ammunition. I'm not sure how many people are buying it, but if you look, there aren't that many sell orders up. That this might be a good place to start making some money now that the scanners and warp drives are coming down steadily in price, which has been happening for a long time. Anyway, I think they will bottom out somewhere close to 1 million. The warp drives are heading there already. Yeah, they're heading down towards the 1 million mark. That's roughly production costs. So perhaps you could diversify into making ammunition. But to go back to the railgun production facility, these 2 are maintaining our advanced antimatter capsules. We have more than enough here to feed them. And then we are consuming 8 of these every 1 hour. So this takes, let me start it up, 53 minutes to make 40 railguns, and it consumes 8 antimatter capsules, and we are producing 8 antimatter capsules every hour. So the limiting factor here is these. You could potentially put down a third, but it's really not necessary. These 2 are enough to maintain 1 craft roughly every hour. And then for electromagnetic ammunition, you would simply change recipe. It should already have all of what it needs already. So electromagnetic railguns, 1,000. Set it to maintain 1,000, or just set it to run if you like. So it's exactly the same resources as before: uncommon reinforced frame, Inconel, uncommon magnet, but instead of the antimatter capsules, it uses advanced magnets, 8 of them. So let's have a quick look at our advanced magnet setup here. We are making 1 advanced magnet every 16 minutes from our two metalworks here. So we're creating 2 advanced magnets every 16 minutes. Let's just quickly get a calculator out for ourselves. So it's 16 minutes. So 4 times 2 is what we make in an hour, which is 8, and there's 24 hours in a day. So we're making 192 advanced magnets in a day. So let's check our consumption. We are consuming over here 100 advanced magnets in a day to make 2 advanced magnetic rails, and that would be much less if we're making mediums instead of larges. So that means we have 92 advanced magnets being made in a day. So that means we have 11.5 hours of excess production to devote to ammunition. So this could basically be running for less than half of the day to make antimatter ammo. So what we would do to fix that is put down a 3rd metal worker here to make more advanced magnets, and split up the silicon and steel production into different containers. So the magnets require the steel, the pipes require the silicon. We would split them up, so this would then become the steel container. We would cut these 5 links to it, and so we'd have more than enough links to support another metal worker here. And we could probably keep the tier 2 the same, that's not so oversubscribed. And then we would have a separate box for silicon that would then feed these 5 here. So just plunk down an extra metal worker to make more magnets. So it would be another 95-ish, 96-ish magnets in a day, which would be more than enough to have this running for, say, 20 to 21 hours of the day, which again is more than enough ammo, and then have the ammo feed into here. The other thing you would need to do is make space for basic connectors. So the connectors box is at max capacity. So what you would do is you would plunk down a transfer unit, and you would cut the link of these 2 production facilities to the connections box. Use one of those links that you've just freed up to attach a transfer unit, and send basic connectors, just 1,000 of them, into this box here. You would then connect this basic connector box to these 2 metal workers, the ones making the uncommon and basic magnets, because they only need the basic connectors. And so you would have the final connection available from the connectors box to hit your extra metal worker that you would set to maintain advanced magnets. Now, same as before, for the medium, it's exactly the same resources, but it only uses half the amount. So if all you're making is medium ammunition, you wouldn't even need to put in an extra metal worker. And so that's it. We have these 2 here maintaining the actual guns into this box, and these 2 here making ammunition of different sizes and putting them into this box. Now you could put in an extra assembler. You would have to finagle the links to make sure you could fit all of that in. Start using more transfer units to buy yourself more links with. So you could say make antimatter and electromagnetic ammunition of each size. But I think for personal use, this is about large enough for one person to be able to feed ore into to get guns and ammo out of. So again, let's just check the price of a Railgun L. Yeah, roughly $1 million, and it doesn't take all that much ore to make a Railgun large. I think the most expensive part is what 1700 garnierite, which makes our nickel. And even the tier 3 ores, the acanthite, you only need like 600-700. The petalite, you only need like 500. So it's not that much ore needed per railgun. So instead of buying it from the market at a marked up price, you can buy the raw ore and make it yourself, or you can mine the ore and make it yourself from scratch. The only pain in this process is the crafting time. So, the magnets, the pipes, all of that take time to make. So it'll take a day to ramp up, and then you're able to output with our capacity, especially if you have a 3rd magnet, or even a 3rd or a 4th advanced magnet producing metalwork, you could probably start hitting exactly 19 hours per railgun and getting more than 2 a day. But this be it. This be the railgun facility. Let's go back up and have an overview, this is what it looks like. And I hope you've been able to enjoy this video. I'm always trying to improve the quality. So one thing I'm doing is I've reattached my pop filter, and I'm experimenting with where I'm placing the microphone relative to my mouth to get rid of those, drops in volume as I turn my head or move around. I gesticulate and move around as I talk quite a lot. So I'm experimenting with how to improve the sound quality before I invest in, better equipment. I have a Yeti Blue, which is perfectly good enough, I feel. So I also am trying to make the guides here more concise, more concentrated with information. So let me know how you think it's all going. If you have any suggestions, please do place them down into the comment section below. If you have liked the video, please do consider giving it a thumbs up, or even subscribing to the channel on YouTube, or perhaps even following me on Twitch. I am streaming this game 3 or 4 days a week now. So I look forward to seeing you there if you would like to come hang out. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I hope you've liked it, and bye for now. A tiny bit of bonus content for those of you who've stuck around this far. This is a time lapse of me building the factory on my wife's character from another computer.